Thanks for letting me know the audio wasn't working. So that's going to be interesting. I'm going to have to edit this one. So this is, where are we at? The start of this painting. Thanks for telling me the audio wasn't working in the beginning. I'll edit this later. So this was toned with, as you can see, it's still wet. This was toned with safflower oil and spike lavender. The canvas was a neutral gray, toned with acrylic ahead of time. And we are going to be doing an outdoor still life. This is the placement of everything. Now, obviously, if you're watching this after the fact, I edited it. I cut out the beginning. So, or maybe I forgot. Who knows? So this is going to be our little silhouette for some flowers. This is our silhouette for a vase. I'm going to put a cupcake here or some kind of pastry. This will either be a lemon or it'll be some kind of lime. And then 2 slices of the lemon or lime, and then a cup will be over there. So yes, if the beginning wasn't in this video, that means that I edited out. If the beginning was silent, that means I forgot to edit it out. But anyway, let's go ahead and start to mix some color on here. So I'm going to take straight white and use the brown that was already on the surface to help mix some values. There's going to be, like I said, the edge of a cup over here. Chop into the vase or vase, whatever you want to call it. There's the edge of the... let's turn it into a lemon. Edge of a lemon. The handle for this cup will be over there. Hey Janice, thanks for catching that, Grace. Hey Patricia and Jolin's Artful Life. Thanks for joining, everyone. Again, thanks for catching the audio. I was editing a 5-minute video for the break time, and in doing that I forgot to turn the audio back on. So at least you'll get a different break time video. It's going to be an acrylic time lapse. So that'll be for the break time. So the white mixed with the brown, creating a kind of off yellow type color, as you could see. Silhouette here, edge of the lemon. And you can see the silhouette of the cup starting to emerge. Okay, so there's going to be a bluish cast shadow. So the cupcake in the shadow area is going to have a little hint of blue. So all the shadow stuff will get some bluish color to it. Shadow area of the vase or vase, whatever you want to call it. So many things for me to check with these videos before pressing the buttons. I forget sometimes. Hey Amina, welcome, welcome. Okay, so out here there's going to be a grassy area. So it's going to be somewhat of a greenish. Value-wise, it'll be darker. but we'll just unify the values for now, as there will be some green over here. Now you see we can mix directly on the surface with the brush. And there's going to be more light up above here, giving it that outside appearance. More blue. That's good. Now we'll add some of the darks, the dark greenish tones. The floral elements will give it more of that springtime type look. Okay, so there's the dark for that. And we're going to switch to, what brush did I use for this? I think it was this one. We're going to brown this out for a second. You'll see why later on. There's going to be a edge where the flower planes will exist. Somewhere up there. And now the top planes, we'll use the same brush. It'll be lighter, more blue for our little cupcake area. Obviously this is in shadow, but it's going to look lighter because it is a cupcake with frosting on it. There's a little bit of light for that. And it's gonna get green and a tiny bit lighter in this reflected area. There's also gonna be a bowl painted in here. So now I can eliminate that outline. More of the yellow. Like I said, we'll turn this into a lemon here. Lemonade. I guess you would have a lemonade outside. Hopefully not get stung by a wasp in the great outdoors. So this is one corner. I know it looks kind of greenish right now. This is one corner of the lemon. That's the shadow side of the lemon. And this is a slice of lemon leaning on the other slice of lemon. So it's going to get lighter. Over here. Not that much lighter. So a little slice of lemon. our lemon slice. That's the other lemon. Now you see the lemon starting to look like a lemon somewhat. Wrapper for the cupcake. Cupcake wrapper there. Light for the top plane of this cup. We need something in the corner of this composition so that not all the elements are just jumbled or in the middle, bundled in the middle. Top plane, little shadow element here for this cup. Now, of course, there would be some reflections. If it is a white glass, some little reflective stuff, and even some yellow. We'll mix it directly onto that. Now you see the reflections. Got a little warning from my streaming software. Let me know if there are any disruptions in the stream. Dark and light for our lime, little green element in here. That'll be the dark. This will be the light, though this is tricky because it's light in the shadow. There are multiple light sources, meaning even the shadow side of the sunlight area will be reflecting some light. Now we get to cut into that shape. Which shores up the drawing a little bit, like that. Now we'll go back to this edge. And now we've made sure that the outline is gone. Outline was useful in the beginning, but now we can get rid of it. Now there will be some light up top for the floral elements, but the green parts of the floral elements, light and shadow in the abstract first. Like that. Gonna work general to specific. Okay, the voice is going in and out. Yeah, I did get a warning from my internet, so if it's too much, I'll just completely cancel the stream and then redo it. Good thing we're doing this 5 days a week, so even if we lose one, we still have all the other ones. Okay, so now we have some light there, and we can work with this value now. Glad the visuals are working though. Sorry about the audio. white in sunlight, in particular a white glassy object on top of a white tablecloth, is going to mean that the white will not look quote unquote white. It will have some combination of the surrounding values and colors. Let's say surrounding colors. Yeah, so if it's still cutting out, let me know. Hey, Amina, you wrote, tell me how I can subscribe. For the online classes, there's a link to my Patreon in the description box of the video. Just a heads up though, my classes are mainly portrait painting, mostly for portraiture, but it does go into the fundamentals of pretty much everything. The fundamentals are universal to all the materials. So the link is in the description box of the video. And the way that my online courses work is that I have a series of projects for the potential student to paint from. A bunch of them, ranging from beginner to advanced, that you can do at your own pace. And then you can send images to me for feedback through email or on Facebook, whichever you prefer. Okay, so there's the light for the base. Now there's going to be some reflection on the edge. Yes, this is still in shadow, but there is some reflection here. And some reflection. Let's change it to a greenish color. Yep, no problem. Amina, hey Lady Death. Now, of course, there would be more light picking up top. And over here. And while we have this, let's push some of the light in the background, adding more dimension to the background, and then we'll add more to the floral elements of the painting. Now you see why that tone in the beginning was so important, because it allows me to paint wet into wet. Just like this. So I'm able to blend into the environment, and it creates a really nice slick surface for me to blend. And here we'll add even more blue to push the color of the light in relation to the color of the shadow. But be careful in doing any outdoor painting, be careful not to oversaturate stuff in the environment. There can be a tendency to oversaturate when you're painting in the sunlight. So that's about good. I don't want it to get any brighter than that. Phthalo blue is pretty dark. And it gets darker towards the middle. We're eliminating that outline. And then it's going to pick up some light towards the bottom. The grassy areas can be a little warmer. which gives some illusion for the background. Nice little illusion for the background. Also helps to eliminate the outlines. Now we can get into some of the floral stuff. So going with a yellowish white, there will be now some flowers. Always go for simple shapes first. Simple shapes. Working around the edges first, because these are the planes that are in the light. Working general to specific. This is how we'll create the illusion of light. You know, I'm starting to think maybe I shouldn't cut out the beginning of the video, because that would be the first accidentally edited video in this series. So maybe I shouldn't cut it out, because the beginning is actually kind of important, putting that tone. Or more light up top. Just call it a unhappy accident. Okay, now we're going to switch brushes, because there's going to be a reddish element in the environment. And we're going to use the alizarin, and it will brown itself out with the green somewhat. Which is okay. Simple shapes, very geometric to start with. Okay, so now we'll start to go into the light for these flowers. I've masked in where they're going to fit. Now we can begin to add some light. And the brightness of the cadmium red will do a lot of the work for us. But let me go ahead first, before I do that, and add some little greenish shadows to a select few of these flowers, like that one, before I go in with all the red. Yeah, like there, that one, and this one, the one next to it. Okay, now we'll go in with the red. utilizing this light that we put on earlier to help to draw like that. Nice little planes. Very geometric as we subdivide the planes. And be careful with symmetry. I don't want to make all of these little flower petals too symmetrical, too similar to one another. I'll let that one be kind of odd looking. Okay, now for the flowers, the light flowers. Subdivide the planes. Less pressure makes this less dark, turns it into a shadow. More pressure, more paint turns it into a light. This area will be dark, and this will be light. Yellow. Detail on this little flower. Now we're adding more and more specificity. Oh, we forgot the flower in the middle. The red flower in the middle. Okay, now we have our first little layer of detail in the flowers. Now we can work back into the glass, which can get lighter now in comparison. We're adding different color changes to further push the light effect. mixing on the panel, canvas panel, as much as possible. Always look at the color in one area in relation to the surrounding areas. Never one color in isolation from the others. Okay, so now we'll go to the palette knife. And this is going to have a hint of pink. Not orange, but pink. Always be careful when you do any outdoor still life of orangey yellow light versus bright purple shadows. That is the most cliche outdoor still life color setup possible. So instead, we're going to use pink and blue versus gray. Not everything is going to be equally bright. Not everything is going to be the same level of saturation. But it is your painting, ultimately. It's your choice what color scheme you want. I'm letting this mix with the color that was already on the surface. Now you can see this creates a glowing, has a tendency to create a glowing effect. And still, I think there should be more blue. So I'm going to use the palette knife to mix this. You'll barely see me use purple because it's such a cliche outdoor still life color. You will almost never see me use that color. It's a nice painterly effect. Okay, so here's somewhere where, like I said, I don't want to use too much purple. There's only some areas where I'll use it, and this is one of them. In order to get that color, it's alizarin and phthalo turquoise. As you see, it's not very blue. It's not a bright blue. That's as blue as I'll let it get. I mean, purple as I'll let it get. And that is fairly good. Now the background is going to have some different color relationships. This is going to be a tad bit warmer, not too much though. So you're always painting one area in comparison to another one. And the palette knife really helps with that. And this will give this that outdoorsy kind of look when you're pushing color relationships. I used to do outdoor still life when I was still in my teens. And I would mark down the time of day. A little bit more light up top. So we're pretending that the sunlight is up there. And again, the best way to get pure color is palette knife. Even though the surface is slick and it has a tone on it, that palette knife is still going to help mix a pure color. Oops, almost used the wrong color. I'm using the same yellow. It's Windsor yellow, it's very transparent. It's not cadmium yellow. So look how transparent this is. I can add a hint of yellow to this quadrant without raising the value too much. Okay. So now the cast shadow is going to be somewhat lighter now. And we'll figure out whatever color it needs to be by painting a spot of color first. So look at this color in relation to this one, and I want to say that this one is more of a ultramarine blue color. So that means I'm going to use more of my blue, which is phthalo blue, but I'm going to gray it out with black. Black is a blue, but it has less saturation. Obviously, if you're taking a color class, a color study class, then your teacher is going to say not ever to use black, but it is a color. So eventually you will learn how to use it. It's just, it's a different color. It's a different blue. I'm gonna have to use my left hand for this. Nope, I can't. So I'll just mix this way. That's gonna be the bluest area. Obviously when it's finished, it's not gonna be this blue. let the palette knife blur some of the color out. Like that. A window of light. I'm going to mix this pinkish color. Now you see how bright that is. So this is going to have a relation. So let's paint it, add it here. Those light facing planes. With the palette knife. And here. If we do this right, it's going to look like these flowers, like this painting is glowing. It'll have a glowing effect if we do this correctly. Okay, so that is going to have a relation to with a tad bit more yellow to this plane right here. Yep, to that one. There's going to be a connection between this plane and this one in terms of the composition. And just barely it's barely gonna show, but it has to be there. Hey Jonas, welcome. Now these planes are very important to the light effect. Alright, so we're gonna need, I keep needing a cadmium orange, but I don't have one. So it may not show up on your screen anyway. Yeah, I don't have a cadmium orange. I have a cadmium a cadmium red light color. Yeah, this one. Cadmium red vermilion. But I already have that up there. So we're going to cut it real close with this. I mean, real close. Really close. Like that. Okay, so now we can start to add some detail to the surrounding planes. Like, well, not really. Hold on. More light still. And I wish I could stand further back, but I can't. Not a big space. Now, if I were painting this outdoors, I would be standing back as far as possible to see the light effect. And if you do some color paintings like this outside, or even if you paint along with me with this one, you'll notice how it affects, in a positive way, it affects your studio paintings. Now we're going to add a kind of a glow, a halo kind of thing. So it's going to be a little tough to do, but right on the edge. Right on the edge here. And we're going to have to overdo it first. Again, that's going to fit over here. I'm going to overdo it first. Back to the green. And this is all for the light effect. This little glowing light effect, and you wouldn't see it on a photo reference that clearly. And I'm painting this mainly from memory. Let's make sure the drawing is decent. Pretty close. So yeah, you wouldn't really see this effect in from a photo reference. You'd have to paint outside for some years to be able to make this kind of stuff up from your memory. Again, I was fortunate when I was a teenager painting. I lived somewhere where there was a backyard and a front yard, so I was able to go outside and paint. So there's the light effect. Very strong. And yes, we have some bright colors in here, but you gotta be careful not to oversaturate them. It's a very fine line. It's a very fine line between bright colors and oversaturated colors. And even the tabletop here is gonna have different planes. So this one is going to be kind of pinkish, but out here, as you can see, it'll get more yellow. So little zones of different color, though they're going to have the same value, but different colors. And again, you'll notice light effects like this if you paint outdoors. This will create a glow. Anyone that would end up buying this painting would really see how it glows, especially when you hang this near a window. Unfortunately, I don't think a print will do it as much justice as the real life painting, but even a print will show you how bright this will look, how strong the light will look. But okay. Now we've got 3 minutes till the break, which is good timing. So when we come back, we'll start to add the details. But this is kind of the essence of at least how I was brought up in painting through outdoor still life. The method that I use for this one is different, way different than what I was taught as a kid. But I prefer painting this way. Hey Gigi, welcome, welcome. Okay, so I've got a pretty strong light effect now. You loved the outdoors as a kid too, that's awesome. It is harder to negotiate the terrain, that is true. With all the bugs and stuff and the light changing so fast. It's really useful to blur your eyes at the painting. Forget about any kind of reference, but just blur your eyes at the painting to kind of help create more distance. And you'll see though that this is similar to this, but the difference is in the color mixing here. And these colors in relation to one another is what creates this kind of glowing effect. Alrighty, so what if you were wondering if you could paint form with acrylic? Would it be possible to paint something that looks realistic with acrylic? Question is, yep, it's possible. So I'm going to show you a quick 7-minute something second video that gets right into that. Hopefully you'll enjoy, and afterwards we'll continue this still life. Welcome to 7 minutes acrylic eye with color. This is a time lapse. So the video has been sped up so that you can watch it within a approximately 7 minute time range. What you're seeing here is a black and white underpainting, again with acrylic paint. We're painting wet onto dry. However, the acrylic paint allows itself to work wet into wet within the time interval of about, I would say, 2 to 5 minutes until it's completely dry. So as you can see here, in contrast to the technique we use in oil paint, this is very much wet onto dry. I really recommend doing these studies of eyes because it helps you not only work with some anatomy but also different structures, such as the curvature of the eye. As you can see, there is like a sphere. It has a highlight, it has light and shadow, and it has middle tones. Now you see how we're putting in planes onto the eye socket. Now this is a very, very fast-paced video, but we have done a similar one to this in oil paint, minus the color, in real time. I just want to show that you can create these gradations with acrylic, and we have several live streams and pre-recorded videos already done on the YouTube channel that shows acrylic. This is an excellent study to do when you're trying to work on your values, and then eventually it will transition into color. Remember, if you do decide to recreate any one of the paintings done on the channel, including these fast-paced studies, please post it to your social medias with the hashtag #UpariArtist. Now we're putting in values surrounding the eyes. There's a side plane underneath of the tear duct of the eye. And now we've covered the entire surface, pretty much like a cast drawing or a cast painting. And it dries within about 5 minutes or so. Now we're pushing the darks. One thing to notice is that acrylic does dry a little bit darker in the lights, but then the darks themselves will actually fade slightly. Now that transition was done wet onto wet, which means you have to mix that value within about a 2 to 5 minute time range. Now we're pushing the darks even further. And now we're starting to add some hints of color. A little bit of brown. And now we're putting in some skin tone. And the mixtures are done on a dry palette, so I'm mixing each color as I go, and then I'm adding it directly onto the surface. Wet onto dry. Again, to show you that these types of paintings can be done with acrylic paint as well. A little bit of a warmer gray for the sclera, the white of the eye. Just like we did with the underpainting, but it's much easier to add color when you have an underlayer that has careful drawing in light and shadow. Now you see we're filling in some of the mid-tones on the upper eyelid. A little bit of a yellowish color on the side plane of the eye socket. And now we're putting more of a reddish color, kind of exaggerating color a little bit, which you're totally allowed to do, by the way, with a quick study of an eye. Real time, this video was approximately almost an hour long. So an hour condensed into about 7 minutes, a little more than 7 minutes. Now we're rounding out the eyebrow. Notice how the eyebrows are not painted on. They're literally painted on, but they're not meant to look painted on. They have soft edges, light and shadow. Now you may have seen there that the paint in the light did dry a little bit darker, but the more layers you add, the less that effect will be. Let's just say it won't be interrupting the process. The more and more layers you add, the truer the values are going to look. The values will look more accurate. Here's last minute little color changes. A little bit of blue for the highlight on the eye. Just little last minute color adjustments on this. More light on the eyebrow. So once again, this was accelerated, but we do have a monochrome oil painting eye that was done in about 5 to 7 minutes. Of course, acrylic takes a little bit longer, but this was a fun little break time video for you to show that this can also be done with acrylic. Alrighty, so let's continue to push this outdoor still life. Now we're going to retire the palette knife. Again, if you are trying to push the color of the light in relation to the color of the shadow in the sense of creating luminosity, palette knife is going to be the way to go. But trying to get into more specificity with the palette knife is kind of complicated. So that's when it's time to transition back into brushes. So let's go ahead and go back to the paint brushes, to familiar territory. And let's see, let's paint the little bow. There's going to be a bow on this still life. Hey Gigi, I'm glad you like the luminosity in the recent paintings. I've got a couple more in store, or a lot of them, with luminosity in mind. So there's going to be a bow over here. So I've got a grayish blue, kind of brownish hue. There we go. Hey Maita, welcome. I'm glad you like the luminosity. Oh, thank you for the super chat, Maita. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. It helps the stream so much. Thank you, thank you. So Maiza, thank you so much for the super chat. Just saying thank you with my camera. Or I guess it's my webcam. Shadow tone. Now we're gonna put some accents. There's a photo, but I'm definitely not using the color scheme of the photo. The same story as before. I don't want to. I am using a copyright-free resource, but I don't want to risk it and you know, get it. Copyright-free doesn't mean copyright-free forever. So yeah, I don't want to risk it. But yes, I am editing a lot of things in the reference to try to make it look like a real outdoor landscape. And you know, let's let this transparency go out there. Yeah, something like that. And of course, back to the trusty palette knife. Make this look more transparent. But yeah, there is a reference for, you know, like the flowers and stuff, but I'm editing a lot of things as I go. So for the painterly effect, I added the dark first, then the middle values. Now I'm putting in the light on this bow. Okay, so that's the bow. Now for this cupcake, let's add some stuff. Well, thanks, Gigi, for sharing it to your Facebook. I know this is not my typical subject matter, nowhere near my typical subject matter. But again, the goal is to be able to create something that I would be happy to show. And my aesthetic to painting is really, I like a combination of form, color, and obviously like trying to combine video with painting. So it's a very complicated type of art that I want to do. But what I want is to be able to just kind of turn my brain off almost and just paint. Paint the best that I can, the most frequently that I can. If you want to knock out paintings every day, learning the alla prima techniques in oil painting is one of the strongest tools that you can have. And like what was shown in the little 5-minute video, it can be done with acrylic, but I choose oil paint. It's what I've been using. Again, I used to paint stuff like this when I was a teenager. When I really first started getting into painting. So a lot of experience with this kind of stuff. Now, if you look up an artist named Henry Henchy, you knew I was going to mention Henchy eventually, I'm sure, in case you know of my background. But Henry Henchy was the teacher of my teachers. And the way that he taught, the way that he worked was not exactly the same as what you're seeing here. So I've diverged from what I was taught when I was a kid, which we all do at some point. We kind of make our own way. Which I think you should. You should always find your own voice, so to speak. Again, there's some whipped cream on this cupcake. Adding paint directly onto the layer we had before, wet on wet. And of course the cupcake will have some kind of warm undertones. Little spirals of the whipped cream. Appreciate all the likes, everyone. Wish I could hand you a cupcake. In appreciation. Oh, accents. Gotta be careful, can't get too dark. Now traces of blue on the wrapper of the cupcake. Now that we have that, we will edit the cast shadow now. Now we've got ourselves a cupcake. Okay, so the lemon, this one will be pretty simple. Actually, this is the lime. Now I get those two confused a lot, lemon and lime. Now I want this lime to be right behind the lemons, but I want it to also be in front of the flowers, but I want the cupcake to be in front of the lemon. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have overlapping of different still life elements to create the illusion of distance. And I would love to paint bigger if I could, but for the sake of recording, I don't want there to be too much distortion. This is a 9 by 12 inch canvas. In the future, I've been saying this for years, and I'm already in the distant future from where I started, but a camera crew would have been great. Although I do like the comfort of being able to paint whenever I want, however I want. Anyway, the point I'm trying to get at is these paintings with the sunlight and stuff like that, bigger is better, bigger is easier. Bigger is easier because you have more opportunities to push different spots of color. It's not all compressed. If anybody's ever done an outdoor still life or a landscape painting outdoors, especially in a bright sunlit day, let me know. What was your experience like? I even, when I lived with an art teacher, I would, back when I was in Philly, I would use the roof to paint outdoor still life. It was kind of my favorite thing back in the day. The outdoor still life. Second to portraiture. I always liked portraits. I always wanted to do outdoor portraits. Outdoor, outdoor figurative paintings, like with models wearing like white dresses or red dresses in the sunlight, things like that. But that's kind of expensive. Oh, right. A bigger palette is always better. When I say better, I mean easier to work with. Bigger palette is easier to work with. You see how scattered all these little puddles of color are compared to what my palette usually looks like? And this is a painting where I may end up not needing my sable brushes. I don't think. Grace, you say your two favorites are portraits and still life, with seascapes or waterscapes third. I haven't done too many seascapes. I mean, I've done a couple, like some on commission in the past. But yeah, maybe painting something with waves and stuff like that would be kind of nice for like a future stream. I get it, stream. I make myself laugh. Welcome to a live stream of painting of a stream. Again, thanks for all the likes. We're almost at 20. That's pretty cool. Especially for a subject matter that I'm not really that known for. thanks for the super chat, Celeste. Thank you, thank you. Thanks again for the super chat. I'm really thankful for that. Kind of tried to show some of the handle of this in the composition. Let me try to raise that a little bit. Thank you so much, Celeste and Maitha, for the super chats. Yeah, my camera is a little too cropped. I didn't realize it was that cropped. Let's see. Yeah, you can kind of see it right down there, the handle. A reflection in the shadow for the handle. Thanks for all the support, everyone. And hopefully this will be good enough for some prints to be sold. I'll create some products. I found a art print place that's closer to here. I'm gonna check out the prices. I wanted to do them online, but I'm kind of curious about getting them done in person. Hey Lottie. Welcome, Lottie. Something like that, old school looking painting. Yeah, something like that. It's a not a landscape. It's a color. It's a color emphasis on the color. Again, that lime. It's kind of big. Let's cut it. Let's cut into this lime. Yeah, something like that. That's closer to the lime shape. I think we're getting faster with these paintings. I didn't think I would get this far this quickly. But again, the alla prima technique is something to behold. It's a really strong method to work in. Fast, efficient. A little bit of yellow for this lime. Not too much. I've got a pretty good glowing effect going on, I think. Okay. Now this mug. Or is it possible that lemon reflects other things? Well, there's definitely going to be some reflecting on here when we get to it. There'll be some reflecting here of the yellow. So definitely. We'll get there, no worries. Lots of reflections. Now we'll start to add some reflections right there. That's our painterly little approach. Paint that out and add color into it. This is something I want everyone to remember. The color that something is reflecting on, the color of the reflection should be different than the color of the thing that's being reflected. The color of the reflection should be different than the thing that is being reflected. So I need a whole different color to paint this reflection. I don't want to paint the same color as that. And that's because it's a different plane. But our brains want us to paint it the same color. And I didn't figure that out myself. A teacher told me that a long time ago. It's something I just didn't forget. And I want to say it is... well, obviously I can't tell in the picture because the picture is a picture and it's just not useful for this. But I'm going to say that this is going to be warmer than that in comparison. And by warmer, I mean it's going to be more pink. So always remember this. The color of the reflection should be different than the thing that is being reflected. The reflection is a different color. Even a reflection, hear me out, even a reflection on the same object of this lemon is going to be slightly different. So the reflection of this on this plane here is going to look different than the reflection up here. I'm going to repeat that again. This is the most important thing I can tell you right now, because a photograph won't show you, because you have to look at things in real life. This is reflecting a color here that is different. This is different than this. It has a different hue in relation to this. This has a different hue in relation to this. This is a reflection up here from this, but because it's in a different plane, it has different atmospheric effects, it's going to have a different hue as well. And I'm going to say that it's closer to, say, like a cadmium yellowish, like something like that. Be careful that it's not the same as that or the same as that. This is why you need a lot of colors. And I'm not going to be able to get it with a brush. So I'm going to need to mix with the palette knife. So some really useful stuff I'm trying to tell you. Okay, so there it is. That's going to be different than this, obviously. It's different than that. The value, though, is too bright. So I'm adding raw sienna to it to change the hue. Now that is pretty good. Right here. This is the most important thing I can tell you about this painting today, because it's something you're not going to see on a reference. It's part of the visual experience. Painting from life will teach you these things. And in fact, this is the same phenomenon that occurs in portraits all the time that I'm painting from life, and I'm making it up on the reference, or when I'm painting from a reference or from imagination, which mostly these days is kind of imagination. I gotta make these things up because I have so much experience painting this in real life that I'm able to remember to change them in the painting. So this has more of an orangey than this. This has more of a yellow than this. This is more orangey than this. But this is more blue than that. Really careful stuff. It doesn't look like it, but from a distance that will help create that glowing light effect when you study the colors. Because obviously, as you can see in a webcam, under not sunlight, under just a light bulb, everything here is kind of gray. If you look at something white and the light here, everything is just kind of gray. But if you look at something white and the light in the painting, you can see this is a visual experience. We see different colors in relation to one another. Even though this is white, this is white, this is white, it's in sunlight. So these planes are going to look different relative to one another. But that's not going to happen in the photo reference. That is a huge, huge thing. I can't emphasize how important what I just told you is to painting. It's huge, but I don't know. It's up to you if you want to listen to me or not. It's up to you. Hey, Lottie. Yeah, there's some optical illusions that happen there also. Yeah, I would agree to that. Some illusions. As you said, now your brain is used to a black sweater and the gray shadow. Yeah, using color in a painting is a very I want to say it's a very intuitive thing, but there is some some stuff involved in it, like what I was just showing you. But again, there's a very fine line between overly pastel colors and colors that are, grayed out in some areas, colors that have certain color relationships to them, not just out of the tube colors. Out of the tube colors are going to look overly pastel. So you gotta be careful with that. So when you're painting something in the sunlight or painting something under extreme light circumstances where the priority is in fact the light, make sure that your whatever subject you're painting is the drawing and the form and the values is second nature to you. So for example, if this was a person in the light with still life elements and stuff like that, it's not something I would recommend, say, a beginner or somebody that's only been painting for a year or so. I wouldn't recommend painting a person, though we will do that. Person in sunlight, we will do that, but to someone that's just getting started, this is much better. A cup on a table. Flowers are a little complicated, but something like this right here is perfect for beginners. A cup, just a cup, a white cup on a white table in the sunlight. You'll really get to push different color relationships, and you'll really get acclimated to that palette knife. Now obviously that is too blue, so I'm going to gray it out slightly. A little bit of a purple. My teacher would say, well, first of all, he would call every color a note, kind of like music. So every color is a note. Every plane in relation to the surrounding planes is a color relationship. And any color that's somewhat grayish or has been mixed in relation to the surrounding colors, if it's a tough color like this, is a tough color to pinpoint exactly what it is. My teacher would call it an off note. An off note is what he would call it. Pretty cool. And he would say that a beautiful color is one that you can't quite tell what it is or how it was made, how it was mixed. So this is how I was introduced to color in painting. Take a trip down memory lane with me, and you will find a lot of outdoor still life. And time goes by quickly. We're 3 minutes away from the next break. So in case anybody missed that acrylic video, I'm going to play it again. 7-minute acrylic painting video in the next 2 minutes. When we return, we will put the final touches on the flowers. We'll start to really differentiate the planes for the flowers. Now, I don't like when things meet perfectly like that, but it is what it is. They ended up meeting there, so that's just how they're gonna be. Now, obviously, I can fudge this, push it somewhat to the left, like that, so it overlaps a little bit. And some glowing effect right up above here might be nice. Thanks, Lottie. I'm glad you like it. Something, yeah, it adds something to it. Okay. So, any acrylic enthusiasts here? I'm gonna play a 7-minute acrylic painting video for you. Hopefully you will enjoy it. If you paint along with any of the paintings here and you post it to social media, please post with the hashtag #UpariArtist to help promote these videos. In any case, hopefully you will enjoy that acrylic painting video, and we'll be right back. Welcome to 7 minutes acrylic eye with color. This is a time lapse. So the video has been sped up so that you can watch it within a approximately 7-minute time range. What you're seeing here is a black and white underpainting. Again, with acrylic paint. We're painting wet onto dry. However, the acrylic paint allows itself to work wet into wet within the time interval of about, I would say, 2 to 5 minutes until it's completely dry. So as you can see here, in contrast to the technique we use in oil paint, this is very much wet onto dry. I really recommend doing these studies of eyes because it helps you not only work with some anatomy, but also different structures, such as the curvature of the eye. As you can see, there is like a sphere. It has a highlight, it has light and shadow, and it has middle tones. Now you see how we're putting in planes onto the eye socket. Now this is a very, very fast-paced video, but we have done a similar one to this in oil paint, minus the color, in real time. I just want to show that you can create these gradations with acrylic, and we have several live streams and pre-recorded videos already done on the YouTube channel that shows acrylic. This is an excellent study to do when you're trying to work on your values, and then eventually it will transition into color. Remember, if you do decide to recreate any one of the paintings done on the channel, including these fast-paced studies, please post it to your social medias with the hashtag #UpariArtist. Now we're putting in values surrounding the eyes. There's a side plane underneath of the tear duct of the eye. And now we've covered the entire surface, pretty much like a cast drawing or a cast painting. And it dries within about 5 minutes or so. Now we're pushing the darks. One thing to notice is that acrylic does dry a little bit darker in the lights, but then the darks themselves will actually fade slightly. Now that transition was done wet onto wet, which means you have to mix that value within about a 2 to 5 minute time range. Now we're pushing the darks even further. And now we're starting to add some hints of color. A little bit of brown. And now we're putting in some skin tone. And the mixtures are done on a dry palette, so I'm mixing each color as I go, and then I'm adding it directly onto the surface. Wet onto dry. Again, to show you that these types of paintings can be done with acrylic paint as well. A little bit of a warmer gray for the sclera, the white of the eye. Just like we did with the underpainting, but it's much easier to add color when you have an underlayer that has careful drawing in light and shadow. Now you see we're filling in some of the mid-tones on the upper eyelid. A little bit of a yellowish color on the side plane of the eye socket. And now we're putting more of a reddish color, kind of exaggerating color a little bit. Which you're totally allowed to do, by the way, with a quick study of an eye. Real time, this video was approximately almost an hour long. So an hour condensed into about 7 minutes. A little more than 7 minutes. Now we're rounding out the eyebrow. Notice how the eyebrows are not painted on. They're literally painted on, but they're not meant to look painted on. They have soft edges, light and shadow. Now you may have seen there that the paint in the light did dry a little bit darker, but the more layers you add, the less that effect will be. Let's just say it won't be interrupting the process. The more and more layers you add, the truer the values are going to look. The values will look more accurate. Here's last minute little color changes. A little bit of blue for the highlight on the eye. Just little last minute color adjustments on this. More light on the eyebrow. So once again, This was accelerated, but we do have a monochrome oil painting eye that was done in about 5 to 7 minutes. Of course, acrylic takes a little bit longer, but this was a fun little break time video for you to show that this can also be done with acrylic. Alrighty, so let's finish this painting up. It went by pretty fast, I will say, but let's go ahead and add some more detail to the flowers now. Glad you liked the eye. Let me know if the audio and everything works out. And yeah, let me know if I should cut out the beginning where the audio wasn't working. I mean, I guess I should decide that on my own, but I don't know. Anyway, let's add some more detail to the flowers. Little plane changes for the flower petals. Every little plane change should be done with the big picture in mind. Meaning, make a change and then stand back. Excuse me. Now the light and shadow on a flower should have the same specificity in mind as a portrait of a human. Oh, thank you. Try to put little irregularities in flower petals. Always be careful of potato chips. If they look too much like potato chips, that means you want to add some irregularity to the shape. For example, this. I can angle that a little bit this way. And now we don't have a potato chip. Just something to keep in mind. We're going to bring out a different brush. Yellow, green, what? I don't know what herb that is. But color-wise, I'd say Paraline red is a really good one to have. I think it's a gambling color. It might be a Windsor. I don't know. It's one of those. It's either Windsor or gambling. Paraline red. For a yellow, Indian yellow is a really nice one. For really strong effects. And another brush. I've got 5 different brushes out now. Oh, it's from a flower. I didn't know. Maybe that's what this flower is. I'm not sure. Not sure. So this is kind of like an Indian yellow type color. Still kind of green. From a tree, mimosa tree. Ah. I didn't know. someone more recent, although unfortunately passed away, but somebody recent that you could look up for floral paintings is Richard Schmid. He's a good one to look up for florals. Even during Bob Ross's time, there was a family that would do a floral painting show. Unfortunately, I didn't know about them until I watched the Bob Ross documentary, which kind of scares me a little bit. I don't want to even mention his name too much. I don't know if anyone here has seen that Bob Ross documentary on Netflix. Kind of scary. Oh no, he was definitely as nice as he seemed. Had nothing bad about Bob Ross. He was a very genuine person. At least that's what they say. I never met the guy, of course, but no, it's about the business, the art business side that he dealt with. That's the scary part. That's why I rather just kind of work for myself. Of course, I've got YouTube, right? But I want to just be able to paint on my own and not have to be tied down to any network. Now, obviously, YouTube is more just a platform to broadcast, so I don't have any issues with that, other than that copyright thing, but other than that, it's not too bad. No worries, no worries. No worries, Celeste. Oh, Daniel Keys. Yeah, that's a more, I guess, recent person. Basically, the art of painting flowers is a very rich subject. It may or may not be a very lucrative field, I'm not sure. I've had very mixed results with selling floral type paintings. It depends on what people are after. If you want to do a more realistic style floral painting, it's almost like a landscape in the sense that I don't like floral paintings that are overly realistic. Just like landscapes. I don't like landscapes that are too realistic. It's kind of this Goldilocks zone that I like. Let's have some of the flowers overlap. Or the leaf, I guess. It's a little overlap there. Just on that side. Yeah, the Impressionists did a lot of florals. I mean, Impressionism in terms of color is the type of landscape and basically everything. I like everything to be in consideration the color. Of course, yesterday's painting was more about values. But in general, I like more luminous paintings that have a strong light effect along with form. Combining form and color, it's a very ambitious but very, very fulfilling endeavor. Rembrandt. I haven't seen a Rembrandt floral painting. You mean of a painting his wife did? Well, I'm sure Rembrandt did do some floral paintings. Let's push the rim light even more. Really do go through a lot of paint with anything outdoorsy. Flora is a painting of his wife. Oh. It was huge for its time. Yeah, I think so too. I think he wouldn't have went overly commercial either. Yeah, scary stuff. Thanks, Patricia. Just trying to put some explanation as to what I'm doing with the painting. Though the main goal is to create. The teaching stuff is kind of a bonus, I guess. In the old days, you're saying huge pay for their work. Oh, yeah, it was more of a profession before photography. It was kind of the only way to get a visual representation of something. Then it changed during the era of photography. Now we have a whole new one, which is AI. Speaking of AI, did anyone see the OIIA cat or whatever? The OOE cat? OOE something cat. It's hilarious. If AI keeps doing stuff like that's cool. I'm okay with that. It's kind of funny. Although I'll always miss Grumpy Cat, the original cat meme. Why I'm talking about that, I don't know. It's random thoughts. Well, thanks, Celeste. Now, from a distance, the flowers should have a little more to them. A little more depth to them. Still can use some more color, especially in the mid-tones, like here. Yeah, that cat song. Ooh-ee-ah-ee song or whatever it is. It's hilarious. But it's also kind of sad in a way. It's like a viral cat that's not even alive. Something special about the celebrity pets. Okay, so we're putting this kind of orangey color in the mid-tones. Yes, mid-tones. I do want planes in this floral painting. Just like painting a tree. It's going to be light, middle, and dark. So I think this is going to be the 8th painting in this series. I'm starting to lose track now. Yeah, we did 5 last week, so we're 6, 7. So we're at 7. And then the one we did for the YouTube pre-recorded makes 8. So remember, if these videos are too long for you, there's going to be pre-recorded uploads on Saturdays. We'll have a little something for everybody. Oh, it's late over there, I think. I do appreciate you attending the streams. So what does 22 translate to? Like 10 p.m.? Just a glimpse of a hidden flower back here. Just so we don't have just that one random flower in the middle. Hey, Rockflower. No worries. I'm glad you joined. I know it's a lot of streams. What do we smell, the lemon or the rose? I've never really been too keen on the smell of a rose. So I'm thinking it'd be the lemon. Or the lime, I guess. The lime is stronger. Citrusy. Alright, so let's look at it from a distance now. The flowers are more realistic. somewhat more realistic. Now we can get back to the surrounding still life. Probably the cupcake. We'll add some more definition to that. Thanks, rock flower. Okay, so let's see. Let's mix a dark, some kind of dark for this. Start with whatever was already dark on the palette. See how that goes. Thanks, Lottie. These are little dark accents for the whipped cream. A little context to why I'm putting a cupcake in here is today is Lucy's birthday. I did mention Tuesday was her birthday. So, cupcake. I'll be taking her to the Olive Garden for her birthday. But that's why I'm painting a cupcake. It's because it's a birthday. Thanks, Celeste. It's like Lucy's had a whole birthday week. Highlights for the whipped cream. Yeah, her name is Lucero. Her full name is Lucero. Translates to a bright star. Now the brightest highlight, right on the edge of the cupcake. Thanks, Lottie. Thanks, Celeste. Yeah, Lucy's at her job right now, but she gets off work in 45 minutes. First the bread, now the cupcake. True. Yeah, I did mentioned that last week that I like painting food. It's kind of a, I don't know. It's a fun thing to paint. And of course, every cake has these little things. Every cupcake. Literally sprinkle some of these things on. Sprinkles. Oh, thanks for the super chat, Patricia. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Can I get a piece of lemon? I can get a piece of lemon, of course. Oh, thank you, thank you. The super chat helps so much. So thanks, Patricia, for the super chat. Oh, I just noticed that the picture here is kind of cropped a little more, but yeah, thank you so much for the super chat. I'm so thankful. So thankful. I'm also so awkward when it comes to saying thank you. So thank you, thank you. Yeah, I had little ants. Yeah, I'm putting some little ants on here. Colorful ants. Colorful little ants. So appetizing. Make sure the sprinkles fit on the form. Little ants. Of course, this greenish one you can't quite see too much. Colorful sprinkles. Using the back end of the brush. That sprinkle was too big. More little sprinkles. And some blue notes to the wrapper. The blue accents add something to it. Oh, like a put like a bite on the cupcake. That's a popular still life thing. Bite part of an apple. Paint that in. I'm glad you liked the sprinkles. Well, thanks again for joining, Celeste. And we'll be back tomorrow. Well, thank you. I shall tell her you said happy birthday. A little corner of light. I'm going to let some of the blue show through. This is called a broken color effect. So there's little gaps, though you can't see them. There's little gaps of blue left behind. So we're getting there. More structure to the cupcake. Now it's starting to take form. So we'll go back to the top. Add a little more light. Try to push it even further. Right up here. I'll use this transparent yellow. It's too transparent. There we go. Put that on the other side. Really trying to push that light effect now. Lightning. Could be. Trying to push the light. Alright, so now that I have these three little things there, we'll push it out that way. Like that. Which creates a glow. That transparent yellow. Very fun effect. I don't know. I don't like this flower. Doesn't seem to fit. I didn't like it. It had to go. I'm glad you like the light, Lottie. Flower gone. Off with the flower. Get out of here. Creates our little glow. More of a glow. My caterpillar can come. Okay, now let's see what this looks like. Actually, before we do that, that effect is going to have to be duplicated down here. Then you'll see what it does to the overall light effect. Right here. It's gonna have to be duplicated there. Now here's the blue. I mean, the yellow. Kind of funny I said that, because I'm thinking of this yellow in context of that blue. Just like I say, paint one thing in relation to the other. If you do that, you'll accidentally say the name of the surrounding color while you're painting. It's interesting how that happens. Doing this in close-up first to show you what it'll look like from a distance, these effects that we're adding. Yeah, low table. Oh, you'll see. Okay, so now let's see the light effect from the distance. And for some reason this makes it look further away. It's my ugly face is blocking some distance here, but now you can see how that's really pushing that effect. So pretty cool. Now we're gonna get back to the lime. Now you can see how bright things look. Maybe it could be I don't like when things come up between the flowers. Yeah, that one little thing was just sticking out too much, that flower. So we changed it. You know, funny question you ask, impressionistic with the flowers. I consider almost all of my paintings somewhat impressionist, and that's because impressionism, how it was defined, like what the original impressionism means, is light, portraying light with color. So the color of the light in relation to the color of the shadow. Even if you've got grays, browns, things like that, like what we painted yesterday, I always consider it a hint of impressionism. Pretty much all paintings with consideration with color and color displaying light, to me, is impressionism. But not so much because of the resolve or the brush strokes or anything like that, but rather the use of color to portray light. I'm glad you like it, GG. Oh, yeah. It's got like devil's horns. The flower has an attitude. I kind of didn't like it either. It's gone. Now we're getting to that point where we can start to finish things up. Yeah, something about that I didn't quite like. Okay. We're getting there. Now little things like edges that meet one another in awkward ways. They could stay that way or they can be edited. So I'm going to get a different brush, find those edges like this one. Oops, my head was in the way. Blend them away. Sharp edge here is important. It's a cast shadow, and this is a very sharp contrasting edge. As this is whipped cream, it's soft in nature, so it wouldn't make sense to paint it sharp, even though a photograph might make it look sharp. Let's fix that. This would be sharp. This would be soft. This would be, well, we can sharpen that a little bit. Dewdrops. Don't know what dewdrops means. Okay. So that's a soft little edge. Let's see. The one thing I could do is with a fan brush blend these together, but it is kind of, I don't know. I don't want to blend everything in a uniform way. And yeah, some edges are really important. Like this, I'll soften slightly. Condensation causing droplets on the grass flowers. Oh, I didn't know. I don't think I painted that in. I may have, but I didn't pay attention to it. Now I'm just looking for edges. Any little edges that are too sharp or too soft. Anything that stands out. Oh yeah, of course. Lucy definitely is the love of my life. And yes, I did think about it when I met her, about the I Love Lucy show or whatever. You know, we never did watch that together. Maybe we'll watch that show. Oh, something here I don't like. I want that ribbon to be transparent. Doesn't look so transparent there. You wrote, what is the area of gray, pink above right bottom central flower? Pink. I don't know. It's probably the same as this. It's a little filler. At least in my head, I call it a filler. It just fills up space. But if it catches the eye too much, then it should be softened, minimized. Or else it's not a filler. It takes up too much space optically. On the other side, I don't know. These are all little filler things. Areas of the flowers that I didn't want to bring into focus. And it depends on the aesthetic. From a distance, if one of those little filler things show up, then probably shouldn't. It could be a sardine. Who knows? It's a little filler thing. Just softening the filler area. Letting it blend into the surrounding stuff. Just like these. I don't know if what other people call it, but yeah, in flowers and stuff, where there's groupings of a lot of stuff, we tend to put something that's a filler, or something that takes up space, but shouldn't be that strong. Put a little cast shadow for this leaf. And this just helps break some of the symmetry. Composition is a very personalized thing, but symmetry over things that are overly symmetrical kind of bother me. Just like even numbers. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this is its own still life, and this is a grouping, but it can still be considered as one. Yeah, opposite of the focal point. Yeah, I'm just making up these names. But just things that don't need to take up too much attention. Always be careful with cylinders. Make sure that the bottom of any cylinder doesn't look too flat. So again, another edge where something needs to be blended out or softened. It's this one. Yeah, brighter light by context will make a dark look darker. It's always about the surroundings. Just like the more red you put into something, the more green the surrounding stuff will look. It's by contrast. Just cleaning up these little edges. That's all we're doing. Any little edges that stick out too much. Grass and the flowers. Oh, and a little light here, right on the edge. Almost missed that. Oh, I'm glad you like the icing. That's funny. The autocorrect. And I'm moving this purposely right in front of that little curve for the wrapper. Again, because I don't, just in terms of composition, I don't like when things meet up perfectly. I'll always edit somewhat in case that happens. But that's just me. That's just a little quirk, I guess, with me in terms of design. And I like this lost edge here, so edge-wise, these are getting to be okay. This will continue to be a lost edge. So these final touches have nothing to do with form or anything like that. It has everything to do with aesthetics. What is your own aesthetic? How do you want the edges to look on your painting? It's a personal choice. And time really does go by quickly. Okay. That was the last adjustment. Now we're going to go ahead and sign it. And we'll have ourselves another painting. So I'm going to go ahead and sign it right down here in the shadow. Right there. So I'll use black, blue, use the spike lavender, safflower mixture, mostly safflower oil. A little bit of green. And this is just a cheap watercolor brush. I'll sign it right here. Oops, I can't see it. Darn it, the camera is not, doesn't go that far down. Take 2, signature. Maybe we'll change it. Oops. Will I change my mind? Will I change my mind? You know, I'll sign it right under the lemon. And 25 over here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to alter the value on the signature. See that? So it doesn't stick out too much. Kind of like a 3D effect. So it's still part of the composition, but it's like right next to the lemon. And I'm glad you like the colored cast shadows. So this was signed here on purpose because I wanted to sign it here, and I'm talking about this because it's part of the design. If I sign it up here, it's gonna take away from the main element of the light. If I sign it here, it's also gonna take away from the tabletop light effect. If I sign it in the shadow, it can become part of the elements in the shadow without drawing too much attention to itself. If I am very specific with the value that I use. Signature is part of the design, especially when you're dealing with a smaller painting like this one. Even better to make this signature smaller, but this is about how thick it gets with this brush, so that's why I'm making it a little less dark. And there you go. Oh, thanks, Lottie. And there you go. There is another finished painting. That is what we call Beautiful Outdoors Still Life Painting. Remember, everybody, the schedule is Monday through Friday, 1:30 p.m. DC time zone. That is whatever time of day it is for you. Make sure that it is 1:30 p.m. in DC. That's all I got for you today. Remember, if you want to take online courses with me, check out my links in the description box of the video. Thank you so much for watching. I wish you all the very best, and I'll see you on the next one. And of course, thank you so much for the super chats, everyone that left a super chat. Thank you for the comments, the likes, and just for hanging out with us. Thank you so much, everybody. I'll see you next time.